Well, of course, when you're asking the question how important is Varnashram, I think you want to ask the question, it implies how important is the kind of Varnashram we want to institute. Meaning that what we're trying to understand what Prabhupada intended in what he called Daivi or Daiva Varnashram, right, which is what exactly that means. Because as Prabhupada himself has taught us, the division of society goes on automatically. It's happening anyway.
Yes.
The classes are there, and both the Varnas and the ashrams, some or other, although they're not happening in the Vedic way, they're marked by nature.
Right.
All the professions fall into some category. Varnashram, right. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Everything follows into one of those categories. Right. And also the social, the status, the status of every individual, some or other also may follow into one of the ashrams. Right. Only that people are not conducting themselves in the manner, and these professions and also their personal lives are not being conducted in the manner in which in the ideal manner in which we want to see Varnashram happening, in the way Krishna created Varnashram, the Varna and the Ashram. Guna Karma Vibhaga Shaha. Actually, Guna Karma Vibhaga Shaha, again, as I'm saying, it's happening automatically because the Guna and the Karma is there.
Yes.
But it's just that it's not being done centered around Krishna. It's not done in Krishna consciousness. So, my vision, personally, I consider, obviously, Prabhupada having said that 50% of his mission had not been accomplished and that is left for us to complete it, I definitely understand that is of major importance. Right. To institute Varnashram in the manner in which he viewed it, in the manner in which it complies with Krishna consciousness or is Krishna conscious. On the other hand, I see myself that the first step for Varnashram is to institute that part of Varnashram that can be instituted in the cities, in the sense that, as I just said, already people fall into some of the category. Mm-hmm. So I see my service not being, very much acquainted with how to apply Varnashram in the country, how to create farm communities, myself not being expert in that way or having sufficient knowledge in how to do that. I see my service mostly in trying to trying to attract the people to Varnashram in the city initially. Mm-hmm. And I believe efforts like what your committee is doing will provide the means for me to direct people, those people who come, those people who are being organized in the city Varnashram, mm-hmm. Which is by coming to our temples, and they've been guided into making their homes a temple. Mm-hmm. And trying to follow Krishna consciousness in their lives, in their works. So that is the aspect of Varnashram, that is the first step, which is to attract people to our movement. Yes. And to organize them on the basis of Varnashram within the cities. And then it's up to, now your committee.
Your committee.
Our assigned committee from the GBC, but anyway, it's your ministry, and you're very nicely working on this, and as I said, providing the framework for us to direct the city people to that new paradigm.
Right.
To that new in the sense, new for them. To that different paradigm than the one we presently have of living in the city. Well, I believe it is very, very simply, it is the parallel lines concept, in which both things should run parallel, in a parallel way. We should have what I just said. One thing doesn't contradict the other. The way we are, those of us who are yet not much acquainted with the country Varnashram and don't have the means to work on that, our service is in the cities and is attracting through the Sankirtan movement. The Sankirtan movement and book distribution has so many aspects, and it will continue. Sankirtan will go on constantly, permanently, eternally, because Sankirtan is finally the chanting of the holy names, congregational chanting of the holy names, so that will always happen.
Great.
And the book distribution is essential, and it will be essential while we have, in the manner we're doing book distribution, it will be essential as long as there are the cities.
Correct.
So, and the cities are where we have the centers that are going to bring the people into the country.
Right.
Direct. So those people, like I said, some of us have the service to attract the people to our temples, to our city temples, also to minister to them while they live in the cities, and to minister to them in a way that they can conduct their regular civil lives in Krishna consciousness. And then from there, the next step is for many of those families, many of those people, to be directed to the country and to the country Varnashram that you're all working on.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a contradiction in the sense that all the people that are going to go to the country have come to the movement because of Sankirtan, because of the book distribution in its majority.
Good. Yeah.
The book distribution means not only the actual fact that we're giving a book out, but it's a whole world around that book distribution. The whole ISKCON is centered, going around this book distribution.
Correct.
It's around.
Yeah.
So I don't see why there would be any contradiction. It's not that we're saying stop book distribution and go to the country. That's no one is saying that. No one is saying that.
Balancing these two things.
So if you can tell, it's a question of balancing, just like everything else.
Yeah.
There's so many things we have to balance.
Correct.
Krishna consciousness is about that, of not going to one extreme or the other, just to keep the proper balance of everything. Prabhupada himself said that so many times.
Yes.
Actually, it's the Gita is saying that Krishna consciousness is not for those who eat too little or eat too much, isn't it? Yeah. So everything has to be balanced. Yeah. Sleep too much or sleep too little, and everything's like that. We have to look for the balance. That's where I see the confusion, because preaching, if it's important to preach, you have to be aware of the condition of the people.
Yes.
So preaching is not the way we are preaching, and that's why we're Gostinandi, and it's a very tall order the way we're preaching, because of course it requires very much of us to be so close to the material world and not get entangled, because it does mean we have to get preaching means like that. Preaching means you remain in the battlefield, on the battlefield,
right?
And you remain in the midst of sense gratification, basically speaking. So you cannot preach, and you know, book distribution means that that you have to understand what's the condition of the people. You know, just it's not that you're giving them the book and forgetting them.
Right.
You know, we all understand that what we're trying to do is give them the book and hope that they will want more than that.
Yes.
That they will want to join, that they will want to take up Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
So we have to, besides giving the book, we have to, if we are able, we have to create the favorable condition for them to want to take up Krishna consciousness. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Only because it is, you know, because there is a connection, and I say only because we can all see there is a connection with all this, these modern, modern technological and scientific advancement. This type of life is, you know, there's two things. On the one hand, it seems that it's creating the destruction of the environment, physically speaking, and that the economy, you know, it seems the world is, you know, is going to collapse.
Falling apart.
Yeah, the world is falling apart the way it's going. It seems that way.
Yes.
Now, per se, as we have learned, Yukta Vairagya, you know, per se, not that, you know, strictly speaking, it didn't, you know, it's just we're finding there's a connection. And just like Prabhupada said that the forest is, what did he say about life in the forest, life in the city, life in the temple, right. You know. So life in the forest, and which is
mode of goodness.
Is mode of goodness, but life in the temple is transcendental, and the temple not necessarily is in the forest. Right. So meaning that if there was a way, I'm saying it's just we see there's a connection between sinful activities and difficulty in advancing in spiritual life and the type of life that the modern cities provide.
Correct.
Because otherwise, if it weren't for that, you know, Yukta Vairagya, and of course, if it weren't that this is a lifestyle based on oil, you know, based on, how you call it, the economy based on, and a lifestyle based on electricity and oil and all these things that seemingly, as we understand it, it's not going to last forever.
Right.
So because all of that, it does seem that it's going towards destruction, chaos and destruction, then definitely the wise alternative is to go back to the country, you know, to country life and that type of agrarian life. Now, to make the shift is where the problem is, you know, with everybody being trained and the way they are, everybody being raised the way we're all being raised. So to make that shift, but I do agree with you that because of that, we should, you know, all of us who are city preachers should be aware of you know, of our need to direct people to country life, in our Varnasrama style. You know, you heard we had a small farm community many years ago, actually before I became the GBC here. And devotees, some or other, just as in so many other places, which is the challenge you all have now to guide us how this will not happen again. So devotees, like in so many other places, were not able to maintain those communities, to keep them, to maintain that community in particular. Somehow or other, we still have the land, and even more.
Right.
You know, as you heard, one of the families, became interested in that, in keeping that land, and bought even more land that was nearby. Huge. So we have a huge plot of land, but we yet, the community is not there anymore. We're going to have to start a community again there.
Okay.
So I do want to thank you for coming and helping us organize. You told us that you gave us the advice to create a Varnashram Development Committee. So with your help, we have done that, as you saw. We have 4 individuals at this point, senior men. They're very familiar with the country and with Krishna consciousness. They're all more than 20 years in Krishna consciousness, each one of them, some 30 years in Krishna consciousness. So they will be under your guidance, and hopefully they'll remain very much in touch with you and your group, your committee. And in that way, we can restart, the program at the Varnashram program, perhaps even the Varnashram College, at the land that you also visited.
Right.
It's, as you saw, we have many temples here, many devotees.
Yes.
Even though being such a small country.
Yeah.
Did they tell you Guyana has 700,000?
I was amazed.
Isn't it? Yeah, only 700,000
I was amazed. I was
here.
missing how Tokyo has, over 15 million, and a country like Guyana has less than 1 million.
Amazing.
But there's quite a bit of activity.
So if you consider that among such a small population we have so many temples and so many devotees, and then I think you also notice, you can tell me that there is interest in Varnashram.
Definitely.
That devotees have a natural. You yourself noticed that they were very close to the agrarian times here, and they still keep.
Correct.
There's still a lot of farming going on, and village life. It's all village life. It's all villages here.
The whole Guyana actually was, someone was mentioning this afternoon when I was at the Nimai Pandit Study Center. How the president of this country, very intimately connected, promoting, isn't it? Sustainability and growing food, and I saw this big board, Grow Food, I was mentioning. That's right. He won some award or something. Who is it?
He's not here.
Yeah, Prabhupada. Deva was mentioning he won some kind of award recognition, I think.
I see.
So in other words, that's a real plus.
I was not familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I am familiar, that the people here,
correct.
The country, the president, and that, the ministers, they all favor.
Yeah. So that's it's like you have people behind you with Varnashram basic concepts.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a big advantage.
Yes.
Big advantage.
I hope we have attracted your interest to Guyana, and that that you will continue, because that's the point. As I started saying, I'm not. I am all in favor of it. You have all of my support, but I am not knowledgeable about it.
This is the defect, because we have lost our own culture. Although this culture, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, is the Indian culture. Unfortunately, we have given up. Varnasrama-Dharma, Varna 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, we're simply giving up. No more Brahma, no more Kshatriya, no more Vaishya, no more Sudra, less than Sudra, Panchama. Less than Sudra means Chandala. Kirata, Huna, Pulinda, Pukkusha. There are so many divisions of Chanda. Panchama, they are called Panchama. So, the whole thing is topsy-turvy.